Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I welcome all of you back as court is once again in session. Justice Stevenson is residing, and in the next body of evidence, and this I think was one of the biggest things that people had contention with because the article for Nanoless is 326 pages long. Holy. Now, because a lot of this is going to involve screen caps of Discord messages between what I believe is Redacted and Nanoless and probably some other creators who may or may not have been involved in all this, what I'm going to impose is that we'll cover everything that is not, shown as because I don't exactly, and I'll showcase why we're not going to go over like the Discord DMs or anything like that, because one, well, if Sinder and Redact, in fact, I think I know exactly why they've done it, but let's actually get to talk about Nanoless for now. Now, by the way, Nano's document for reference terminating my work with Cinder. Hello, I'm here to share something that has affected me personally and hurt others. This was very hard for me, but I feel it necessary. Please do not send hate to anyone on my behalf. This is all I want to say. April 26, 2025. 11.9 million views. And this was the whole point of this is um where Cinder probably lays the blame for everything that went wrong because let's be honest, if people like Nanoless and then Bao and Silverveil did not come forward, Cinder would probably have continued exactly as before, if not worse. So let's get to it. There's a lot to uncover. Nano's document claimed both Red and I manipulated, used, and dragged her into the drama. While slandering multiple VTubers, including our friends, these claims were the basis for everything else publicly released afterwards. Documents from half a dozen people, and many others tweeting their grievances with me. It all hinged on Nano's document being posted and its validity. When I wrote my apology, I said, I was not fully aware of the extent of Red's manipulation over Nano's commission decisions. When I wrote this poorly worded sentence, I hadn't seen any of these DMs. I was in a panic and didn't think Nano would be lying about anything. But now that I've read Red's DMs myself, I can say that Nano was not manipulated, abused, used, lied to, mistreated, expected to take action over any drama she was told about, or incapable of making her own decisions regarding her commissions and clientele. She was never forced to do or to do anything. Her anything has always been in control of her own choices and always had the ability to say no. She was met with understanding and faced no repercussions professionally or personally from either of us when she did. Nano's messages with Red were deceitfully presented to push a narrative that never happened. I don't believe Nano ever showed the full extent of her messages with Red to my friends. Her claims were backed by Shy Lily, and I believe they were misled into blindly supporting her. So even though you claim to say that Nano was absolutely in her own sound mind and body to do what she did, but you're telling me that not everything that therefore so she's only telling the truth 100% of the time when you say she is, as far as we're concerned. Right, okay, Cinder. That's what a fantastic start. I don't think Nano was a close friend who we respected, and was a massive part of my own success. I've only ever praised her, privately and publicly. There was nothing she could do for me to hold anything against her or choose to stop working with her. Red and I always encouraged Nano to do what was best for her, not us. Red, who handled our plans with her, made sure to get work around her schedule, push projects back if she needed more time on them, or to take a break and give her first priority on projects she was interested in. He trusted her, and the extent he lied to her about the other people involved was in telling her his own genuine thoughts, observations, and experiences with them as he knew them. The same way my accusers did to the public with how they assumed how Red and I had to have operated together. The claim that Red and I worked to sabotage projects Nano had is a lie. We both would praise her for the work she did for other people, and I've always celebrated and supported new Nano model siblings when they debuted. Even if Red was really asking Nano to cancel every model she had, it was ultimately still her choice to do it or not. But all of the blame of her actions was somehow put on me. That sounds like Red wrote that, you know. Just saying. There were only 4 people Red ever explicitly asked Nano not to work with her agreeing not to. The first was spite at the start of 23. Red asked Nano himself, and he told me about it after. I lied about knowing this in my apology, since it was never mentioned in Nano's or Spite's documents. Bao and Cotton and Silvervale were all part of their exclusivity deal in January of 25, and each for Red's own reasons. I was only ever aware of it and in agreement of asking Nano not to work with Silver anymore. Red never told me about the other 2. I am not guilty of him using his free will to push his own agenda and express his own feelings to Nano. But I understand that as my manager, everything he said to her or anyone else is my responsibility, whether I knew about it or not. Although they were my friends, it was unprofessional of him to talk gossip and work interchangeably. Now, you see, a lot of this also hinges on the fact about how much. Do we genuinely believe that Sinder really knew nothing about this? Also, why bother doing an exclusive? Listen, if somebody, if I was, if somebody had come up to me saying that you can't use this artist because we signed an exclusivity deal with, and I would have told them immediately to go to hell because work is work. And well, what would have happened if I asked for, let's say, Nano's help? What was Red gonna do? Sue me for talking to her? Sue Nano just because she wanted to do business? Just because I actually paid her to do work and stuff like that. Where do we cross the line on this? Because I don't really understand this. We've worked with Nano for 4 years. She is an incredible artist who I've treasured working alongside for my entire career. I put my faith in her at the start when we were both much smaller creators. She saved me from a year-long struggle to get my first model, and she's been with me every step of my journey since. I wanted Nano to be a part of everything she could and choose to make her artwork and backbone of my brand. I love and appreciate every single thing she's done for me, and I'm proud of everything I've been able to do for her. In April, I believe Nano found herself in a situation she couldn't back out of, and then chose to do what would result in the most beneficial outcome for herself: hide the truth. Oh, I see. Now we're really getting to it now, aren't we? Now Cinder is now accusing Nano of being economical with the truth. Oh, now it's start. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Cinder. If if Nano was going to do that, then why didn't she just go after Red specifically? Why are you being put into it then? Because you knew about this. Because you knew about this, Cinder. You were the one who probably encouraged Red to do this. In fact, if anything, you're the one who also we might even go back to Nano's document, by the way, since Cinder was so kind to put it in place. So we'll see exactly how this all holds up. Below are a large portion of Nano's DMs with Red and I over the past 2.5 years that show any situations brought up in Nano's document in full context. Show the relationship we've had with her, how she felt about us and other people involved in everything, and any other relevant conversations that weren't included in what was posted to the public. I've also included some of my own messages with her and some messages with other people. Some of these DMs are repeated and included in the following sections of the document. Nano's profile picture is different in some of these screenshots because of them being taken at different times throughout making this document. Now, to be honest, I'm just gonna say we're sort of gonna like skim past quite a lot of this because, quite frankly, well, it seems irrelevant what happened then. It's about what happened in the meantime. But for what they're worth, if you straight up want to actually see the full extent of the documents, because this really does go on for a while, but mind you, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's actually come up to let Let's come up to about 2024. Let's actually see where shit hits the fan, basically, because it was around about this time when things went sour. What's up? Okay, given the past few months of pretty much only working on Cinder stuff, the upcoming planned projects of all kinds you had in mind, workload forecast in general, it got me thinking I wanted to pitch an idea your way for you to talk about. What do you think of changing the way we do things commission based to similar passions? It's not an unreasonable ask. What would you be asking for a paid month? Okay, I'll talk to Cinder about it. So apparently Red was willing to talk to Cinder and stuff like that. Um, then there's a bit more to this, but then as I suppose we can actually start here, I guess. The next time Red and I talked about this, he said we should ask Nano for some kind of exclusivity too. Well, here's the thing. I was wondering, the editor you have on a payroll, do you have some sort of non-complete exclusivity agreement with them? For example, assuming it blank, he can only edit for you bow something. And this is him asking, well, are you saying that this person can only do it for stuff like you? Have you entered into some sort of contract with them? Red went, it is blank, and with him, it's kind of just a spoken agreement thing. Okay, so nothing was actually put in writing then. We offered him to be exclusive, but he didn't take us on it. Right, because obviously, it's not put in writing, and it seems as if they just wanted them, the best players, all to themselves, it would seem. Okay, I was asking because I had some time to think about our convo yesterday, reflecting on competitiveness in the field and staying at the top. Brought on by the blank bit, and thought that in the event we could work something out. I'd be willing to offer some sort of VTuber non-complete exclusivity policy on some type of work I do. Yeah, so apparently they're going to talk to Cinder about it, I guess. The next time Red and I talked about this, he said we should ask Nano for some kind of exclusivity too. So basically, they were just going to go after and just protect everyone they could so that they couldn't do anything for anyone else. Which, honestly, it's a bit of a no-no anyway, because it seems like you're trying to monopolize on all the best people when there are so many other great people out there who'd be more than willing to pay for the work, and you're just sort of saying, well, no, you can't do that. In my and talking to artist number one gave him the idea to ask her about it again. In my apology, I said we had come to the conclusion that it'd be in my best interest to talk with Nano about making more time for my projects by negotiating with her to cut out other work. This was wrong for us to push onto her, and it was wrong to the other creators who wanted the chance of working with her. What I should have said was negotiating with her to take on less work. We were never thinking about asking her to cut out or cancel anything she had already planned. Still, you could say what you should have said, or you like, Cinder. Again, this doesn't change anything. Red and I had agreed we should ask Nano not to accept any more brand new model clients, and to not make models or outfits for Silvervale anymore. Nano would have more time to work on my projects, and Silver wouldn't be able to get another model from Nano, and I wouldn't be compared to if she chose to get a new one from someone else. Her artwork commissions and projects with her current models' clients wouldn't be touched. So this is what I said about Silvervale in my apology in regards to this exclusivity deal. So at the point I was working with Nano consistently, we brought up not making any more models for her. If a VTuber model is how everyone recognizes you, then it'd be harder to compare us directly if we no longer look alike or have that shared similarity. It was a wrong and selfish decision, but it made me feel better. Yeah, because it's all about what you want, isn't it, Cinder? And that's why it was a constant topic with Nano. Red pushed for this harder than I ever did because he knew how it affected me for years. But no matter what the outcome was, I wasn't going to walk away from working with Nano. I don't know why I said it was a constant topic with Nano, or that Red pushed harder for this, other than being overly apologetic. Red only had any meaningful conversation about Silver with Nano in May and July of 23, and two situations that involved her in November of 23 and January of 25. Of all the things you want to address, Cinder, that's it. There was only one specific creator we were responsible for naming and pressuring Nano into reconsidering projects with her, not an entire list. I was overly apologetic here, and saying we were pressuring her was false. Red and I agreed to ask Nano about Silver when talking about exclusivity, which he did. The only projects Nano would have reconsidered would have been future ones. Hers was the only name Red and I discussed. As for the exclusivity with artist number one, Red and I had only agreed that we wanted to have it for their work and didn't talk about him naming anyone to them. Then we actually move on to the 15th of January. This was when Nano and Red made their exclusivity deal. I didn't know Red was planning to talk to her about it that day, or even knew he had until after they had already come to an agreement, without my involvement. Red brought this up to Nano in their private DMs and not in our project server chat, where all three of us were. The quotes from my apology above refer to this deal they made. In Nano and Bao's documents, this conversation was presented out of order and purposely left out information. This was the second of 4 times with 3 different artists. Looking for something that Sinder would agree to, I would have preserved the value of existing Nano models like Sinder's, and the more models Nano accepted, the more recurring clients she'd have, meaning she'd have less time for any projects. Well, yeah, we know that. That's the whole point. You want to keep it to yourself. My hesitancy and Nano's reassurance were both left out of Nano and Bao's documents. Even though you kind of... I knew about what happened with Cotton, and a friend, I distanced myself from her because of it. But I absolutely do not agree that it was a good reason for Red to involve her. What happened had nothing to do with me, and it wasn't our place to do anything like this because of it. What Red described to Nano below was his incorrect theory about Bao making her editor, Sakamore, go exclusive with her because of Boss Rush's music video he made. I knew he thought this way in December, but I never agreed with him and he held it against her. I was completely unaware that any of this was told to Nano. I should have talked about it, but I never did. You don't seem that bad about it then, and by the way, the image of the China's document, which the message about Cotton edited out. However, context, but yeah, you could see how people were almost immediately starting to get a little bit suspicious. Some context missing. Yeah, super weird. Literally is. Red tried to pull the wool over people's eyes. It would seem. Then it continues going on. By the way, they discuss through PayPal and stuff like that. Nano told me to make a separate. Basically, they Nano. It do be fair, but okay. Can I see some demon Sinder figure? Yeah, deal. Nano and I went back and forth, negotiated. After this happened, I was told Nano agreed she wouldn't work with Silverveil at all anymore. Yeah, it seems as if like they got their wish. They forced her to stop working with Silverveil. We'd fully pay for Nano's new models rigging, and she'd be sent out a free demon figure. Red never told me that Bao and Cotton were ever talked about or included in an agreement, or that Bao had another model that was cancelled. Their deal did include the part about Nano not taking any new model clients we had talked about before, but I was okay with leaving it as I was told it was. Like I said in my apology, regarding the exclusivity deal made between them, I had no part in the direct negotiations of their eventual agreement. You probably should, Cinder, because, well, why wouldn't you be doing that? And I had no knowledge of Bao and Cotton being included in this list. If I had known my friends were included, I would have said something to put a stop to it. It's funny enough that it's only convenient when Cinder wants to actually start talking to people, and it's not in any other cases. There is nothing tangible I can show to prove that I didn't know what happened between them. I can't prove I didn't know something. No, that seems a bit of like a scapegoat again. Anyway, more problems. Thoughts on this thing for this? Okay, give me a couple go through points. What would be covered? Silverveil, Bao. I don't know if you consider VTuber kind of. I'd say most likely you would apply or be relevant or Silver Bao. I also don't want to overwork myself. The rest, no. because Silver didn't like Cinder and I had something against Bao now, I considered Bao and Silvervale competition. Oh dear. Yeah, that's why would you even admit to that anyway? Meanwhile, up to February, Nano cancelled the exclusivity deal she made with Red about a month after it was made, so she could work with Silver. This conversation with Red wasn't included at all in Nano's document, only my DMs with her. Nano faced no repercussions from either of us going back on her word, and Silvervale didn't lose out on any projects with Nano because of her agreement with Red. Oh, isn't that sad? Now Cinder might actually have to. Cinder, if you're that paranoid about competition, you know what? Actually, make content people will still want to see. It doesn't matter whether there's competition or not. You don't stop working. That's the thing I don't get about this. Anyway, so let's sort of move further down because again, where shit hits the fan basically again. Everyone's just sort of Red saw Nano working on a new model for Shy Lily for the first time. He messaged her and asked questions about the timeline of the model. Grats on the Lily model. When did you ask about doing one? And when did you ask about it? Do you have a lot of other models besides ours? Gotcha. Was it recently Lily messaged you as a plan for a while? Yeah, Red really seemed to be really pushing to know exactly what was going on. And again, well, what does it matter anyway if Nano was working on other stuff anyway? Nothing was written down, so unless it's actually, you know what, which then again, I don't think you could do, because here's a little thing about how contracts work, ladies and gentlemen. Contracted law is only applicable if a contract is legally enforceable. You know what? I could sign up for a game show where there's a real possibility of being murdered. Just because I do that does not mean that murder is legal, if that makes sense. And I don't even know where you're meant to go for, because of course they would have to actually pay Nano a salary, and I don't really feel like it's within their budget to do that, even if they had to fork out $3,000 to rig a model. Anyway, hey Nano, do you have any more plans with Lily besides the model? Just the model so far. She's been acting weird towards me since Cinder, and we don't know lately, and we don't know if something's going on. Ever since V card launch, and then Nano asked, but what you consider weird? Lately dipping out of collabs that both are part of mine for the last minute and now ghosting her messages. Cinder's raided her a couple of times in the past, and Lily won't acknowledge Cinder by name. But I don't even think that was even true, but just like weird petty stuff, that's super weird since both share the same store. Around VCard's launch, they were talking about collabing, and I don't know what happened, but her asking you for a model after this was just weird. Even though she said she doesn't plan on getting a new model anytime soon, although this kind of means to her, it was kind of mean to her about using a L2D item one time. I don't know, I hate that we keep bringing you into drama. Yeah, it seems to me as if this working with Red and Cinder is more trouble than it's worth. Anyway, so yeah, this back and forth between prodding about Shy Lily and we're doing things with Bao. Yeah, and even Nanoless is starting to like get bored of this because thanks to Nano, sorry for all the questions. Just gotta stay informed, especially when it comes to our top artist. Never a break. Don't worry, just don't stress about too much about the side things. It's bad for bolding. I'm gonna go bold now. I'll keep you in the loop. I'll tell you everything about that. Just stupid drama. Gotta stay competitive, even when we shouldn't have to. Also, your PFP looks like a guy with a mustache. Don't go too far on the competitiveness. It can get bad. Gotta chill sometimes. Hey, it's not us. Yeah, again, ironically, how it's only now not considered us when whenever it suits Red to now start dragging you know who into this. Anyway, this continues to get a bit worse actually because is this you before you start drawing for the day? Understandable. Me getting GS to start working night shift. Plans at this point. I always suggest new model. She's pretty old now, but it's your money, your orders. The demon is almost the 2.0 model. Anyway, And anyway, this is also the last message in the DMs with Nano. She never replied and never messaged to talk about things about her document privately. In my apology, I wrote, Nano had also never come to me as seriously and professionally as her document was, looking to address the issues she had with either of us or to terminate her partnership. Hi, Nano, would you like to come on my stream again sometime? I think about a whole day before shit hit the fan. Our partnership was terminated before Nano's document was posted, but not by her. 3 days after Red's messages with Nano about Lily, and about 10 hours after my message above, Red was added into a group chat by Nano with her new manager. Red was told that effective immediately, Nano would be taking an indefinite hiatus from working with us due to burnout, and explaining away why Red hadn't heard from Nano in days. We knew Nano's manager had always been her husband, Mio, so him being replaced and Nano coming to this decision out of nowhere made no sense. I was never added into this chat, and wasn't even aware of it happening until the day after when Red talked to me about it. Nano added me to this chat originally since this was the first time I'd ever been in contact with this other person. At the time these screenshots were taken, Nano had already left the chat. The Discord messages of her adding me into the chat and her leaving were gone, and I was apparently made the group owner. Nano never sent me a message in this chat, and the original was the original group owner. So for what this is, autistic burnout is real. She's been meaning to say this for a while. She's been struggling with where she's coming from. Please know this isn't goodbye. It's just a temporal shift. Akira messaged this chat first and renamed the chat to Nanoless Commissions, showing that I didn't make this group or initiate this conversation. Akira and Nano was meaning to say this for a while, but everything Akira describes she never showed anything remotely similar to. Nano was always excited for our projects, including just days before this. Then I immediately accepted this decision if it's what Nano wanted. My comment saying Nano is a bit disorganized was meant to be endearing to her. I said, thank you for the work you've done for us, Nano, because she was in this chat at the time. I asked Akira more questions and she had to speculate on some new kind of timeline when Nano may possibly be able to work with us again. Since this threw off our plans for the rest of the year, then I asked specifically if there were any other factors from her perspective that led to this decision besides autistic burnout. Thinking my conversation about Shy Lily with her could have had something to do with this, I was reassured it was just burnout and autistic pressure. Now I know I was right to suspect this. I didn't want to move on from Nano, and, well, you really should have, Red. And we've waited for her and changed our plans around instead of replacing her as Cinder's model artist. I first told Cinder about this before I said I broke the news to her. This reasoning Akira gave to us didn't make sense, and on the 9th of April, Nano showed no signs of burnout, ready and willing to take on the next project, excited about my new design. And the last thing Nano said to Red on the 12th of April, she showed no signs of being burnt out either. As if Red can just tell that just because of words typed on a screen. At this point, I always suggest new model, but it's our money, not yours. I'm freaking out with my comms. I think I just want to do Cinder stuff. I'm cancelling shit. I need my freedom. The last time, this was apparently the last conversation between Red and Nanoless. After Akira's messages, I was heartbroken, distraught, and didn't know where to go from here. Akira asked for Nano not to be contacted, and despite everything, I still respected Nano enough to not reach out if that's how she felt. Red reassured me that things would be okay and that we'd work with Nano again when she was ready. There was nothing that I could think of as to why Nano would come to this decision, and without saying anything to me at all, I cancelled my Fansly stream I was supposed to have that night. And here's my post on Fansly. Yeah, rescheduled for soon. 5 days later, Red messaged Akira again. Hey Akira, I've been speaking to Cinder about this on and off stuff. She wanted me to relate to her thoughts. She doesn't feel she should message Nano herself. She's very hurt that Nano hadn't discussed with her sooner. Yeah, Nano been working for like 13 projects in 18 months. That's a lot. Hey Red, first of all, I really appreciate you guys giving Nano the space and avoiding DMing her directly. I'm also truly sorry for the situation come up. Please don't view this as taboo, but rather a much needed pause. Unfortunately led to a recent emergency hospital visit due to the stress. Yeah, they put if that's true and they put all of this, then yeah, I think you've got to admit you kind of pushed it too far, guys. If this was truly what Nano was feeling, even if we were completely unaware of it and she chose not to talk to us about it, we still accepted her decision with hopes of working with her again in the future. I was extremely hurt by how Nano went about this. She didn't even give us the courtesy to explain herself after years of working together, and instead sent someone we've never heard of to say goodbye for her. The last message above was 5 days after, well, 5 days before Nano posted her document. Well, it turns out there didn't seem to be any love lost there, because are they not getting the hint that maybe you've forced this situation, and you guys, like, come on, Cinder, Red, think about this. Don't you think you should feel a little bit guilty for putting all of this pressure on her? You're trying to make it so that she can't work with anybody else. Doesn't this come across as a bit manipulative? Because I think it does. Anyway, on the 26th of April, Red and I were together when Nano posted a document at 1:42. She was the first one to post around this time. Red sent a DM saying, "Nano, please," but deleted it right after. I messaged her, "Nano, can we talk?" but deleted it too. She then removed us as friends on Discord, so we couldn't contact her again. And yeah, I think it was just the culmination of everything hitting the wall. And again, I don't blame her, because this is the chickens coming home to roost. And by the way, it doesn't just stop here, because this is just the things discussing Nanoless, because now they have to move on about how they're going to talk about Bao. And then it's Numi and V cards, then Shy Lily, and then it goes on Silverveil Spite, and then because there is a lot more to this, but that is, as they say, Exhibit C, and coming up next, Exhibit D. And with all that being added, I will see all of you guys again in our next piece of evidence. So, here is to another recess, and I'll see you guys at the next station. So, all aboard!